Welcome into the Alabama Bass Trail podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. I'm Kay Donaldson, the director of the Alabama Bass Trail and the host for this week's podcast. And yes, we are a day late and possibly a dollar short in getting this podcast to you this week. This is the podcast for the week of March the 24th, your post Bassmaster Classic podcast and your pre Logan Martin Lake podcast. And I'm not even going to lie. It has been a busy week, and it's only Tuesday here in the Alabama Bass Trail office. And so we're a little late getting to the airwaves, but a lot to talk about surrounding the Bassmaster Classic and just things in general. And we're going to get to that in just a little bit. Honestly, the last few weeks, we turn in timesheets here at the Alabama Bass Trail. And the last few pay periods, which are 2-week pay periods, all of my timesheets have been 103 hours, 108 hours. And I don't even know what this time period or this pay period is going to look like, but it's rough. This is going on week 3 on the road, 18 days straight of working, and I heard this a lot at the Classic, and so I'll just say it. And I hear it a lot, not just at the Classic, but how great my job is, and and all of that. And I say this all the time. We have the best team in all of bass fishing. I'm going to talk about the Bassmaster Classic in just a little bit, but John, Daniel, Angela, myself were at the Classic, and I hear it all the time. The great job that we do, but also just what a great job I have, and I do. But I think sometimes people get kind of caught up in the 14 weekends a year that we're on site at tournaments, and they don't see the Monday through Friday time that we put in. And it's a lot, and there's a lot going on constantly, from literally ordering the checks to write. There's so much in between stuff that people never see. So 103 hours every 2 weeks. And then on top of that, the travel. I got back. I think my plane landed at 4:55 on Sunday, got home about 6 o'clock, 6:30, and was back in the office at 8 o'clock the next morning, and left here at 4:30 yesterday afternoon just to go to the post office and mail out some things. So there is a lot of time that goes into what we do, and the travel is insane. Again, this is 3 straight weekends that we'll be on the road with the Alabama Bass Trail. So there is a lot that goes into this, and it's rough. It's rough on the body. It's rough on the mind. It's rough on the soul. It's rough on everyone back at home that's picking up your slack. Mind, body, and soul. But here we are. We're back at it. It is on Tuesday. We are a day late getting this to you. I want to talk a little bit about the Bassmaster Classic. I thought overall Bass did a phenomenal job with the coordination of the event. Setup was very easy. All of the vendors that they had working with us was very easy. The volunteers that they had working the credential desk, a lot of those people are longtime Bassmaster or Bass Nation people that are working these credential desk and giving directions and walking around with the information sign. And they love bass, and they love being at the Bassmaster Classic. And one gentleman told me this was his 25th Bassmaster Classic to work as a volunteer. So props to them for being able to continue to have those volunteers there. Who knows it better than someone who's been to 25 of them? So it got me to thinking how many Bassmaster Classics I've been to. And I've been to 18 Bassmaster Classics between 2007 and 2025, only missing the Fort Worth Classic in 2021 when Jordan Wiggins went to represent the Alabama Bass Trail. That was the first year of the ABT 100s, and we had an event on Lake Eufaula, and I was unable to attend. So I did not get to go to that one. But I've been to 18 of them. And so I think that gives me the ability to give a very educated opinion of the Bassmaster Classic. Not someone who is sitting at home and just viewing it through the lens of a camera or on live or whatever. Boots on the ground are different. So I'm going to give you my opinion, and not that that means anything to anyone, but I'm going to give you my opinion. I travel to a number of trade shows and travel shows each year representing the state of Alabama, from Chicago to Louisville, Kentucky, to Columbus, Ohio, to the East Tennessee show, to Indianapolis. Done those for years, been in this business almost 20 years. And I've attended a number that are tourism specific and then travel shows and other things. So, and every year, and this year was no different. The Bassmaster Classic is still one of the highest attended trade and travel shows that I attend. And you may say, well, it's not a trade and travel show. Okay, then why was the state of Louisiana there? Why did Explore Lake Gunnersville decide to be there if it's not a trade and travel show? People take their vacation to go to the Bassmaster Classic. You did not just have people from Fort Worth, Texas that were in that trade show. I had a guy from Naples, Florida come up and see me. I've seen him since it was in Greenville in 2008. I met him and his son. His son was 13 years old. Met him in 2008 at the Greenville Bassmaster Classic. I've seen him every year I've been at the Classic since. And his son now works as a videographer for bass. That's how crazy this world is in the bass fishing world. I saw a number of people that I saw last year in Tulsa that came up and talked to me, and not just industry people. These are people from Indiana, from Tennessee, from Georgia. A gentleman from Montgomery, Alabama came up and talked with me. He's good friends with a lot of guys that fish the Alabama Bass Trail, and we talked for probably 45 minutes. It is one of the highest attended shows that we attend all year long. I thought the booths were great. I thought the plan that Bass had in the convention center was good. We had a great spot. We were close to Phoenix. We were right across from the Cavender's boot store. And I'll say I did not purchase anything there. I did not purchase any boots when I was in Texas. But I thought the show was good. I thought it was as good as it has been. Was it as attended as it is in Tennessee? Probably not. But if you haven't Googled Fort Worth, Texas, especially in the Stockyards area, I encourage you to do so. It is a city with a lot going on. There was a cheer and dance competition going on for colleges while we were there. It was spring break. It was the Bassmaster Classic. And hey, there was a little thing called the rodeo going on. The stockyards were packed out. If you've ever been to downtown Nashville and walked Broadway, that is exactly what the stockyards felt like, was Broadway. A lot going on in Fort Worth, Texas. It is not an inexpensive place to go. It's not an inexpensive place to get to from a flight perspective. It's not an inexpensive place to stay. Hotels were expensive. They were equally as expensive as what we have seen in Tulsa, in Knoxville, in Birmingham, anytime there's a big event. Very similar to when Talladega's in town. Your hotel rooms go up. Ubering. I chose to Uber. John had his truck there. We used his truck some, but honestly, parking's $25. So an Uber might be a little bit cheaper if you have 3 or 4 people with you. Ubering was a little more expensive. Food was great. There were plenty of restaurants. There were plenty of things to do when the Bassmaster Classic Expo shut down. The Stockyards was phenomenal. I enjoyed it. I loved watching the cattle drive. I liked learning about Fort Worth. Overall, I thought the show was good. We'll talk about the attendance at the weigh-in. Was that down? Yes. Significantly, it was down. I think there's a lot of things that have to do with that. I think the fact that it is not on site where the expo is, it's not convenient to get to it, played a big part in that. Which is why we should be so thankful when it does come to Birmingham. It's because everything is right there together. You had to get on a bus to go over to it. You may have bought rods and reels or tackle or T-shirts or whatever at the expo, and you have to carry that with you on the shuttle. And then you wait through the weigh-in, and then you come back on that same shuttle or a different shuttle. So it's not easy. Very unlike Birmingham, go drop your stuff off at your car and then walk to the weigh-in 200 yards. So it wasn't as easy to attend the weigh-in. That's sad for the people that are in the tournament because they certainly deserve to have that attendance, but it just wasn't easy. Again, this is no shot at Bass. It's their event. They get to do it however they want to. But a 3.5 hour weigh in for 55 anglers is just this day and time. It's just not going to work. Especially if the event center doesn't have good Wi-Fi, you can't get a cell phone signal, people can't text, they can't post to social media. They're not going to go and sit for 3 hours or 4 hours. They've just become accustomed to things being so readily available. They've watched live all day. They have a good idea of who's going to win. It's not convenient for them. I'm not going to sit there 3 hours because even if you're not diagnosed, everyone has a touch of ADD this time. I mean, it just is. We're so used to instantaneously knowing things. It's how we've been conditioned. So the amount of live coverage that's out there, Bass Track that's out there, the fact that the coverage is so good, and immediately within seconds, Bass has a picture up of the winner, of the fish, of the monumental bag that came in. It's just so instantaneous that I can find it on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. Am I really going to spend the 45 minutes to go over there on a shuttle? And this is not a slide at Bass. Please understand. This is just events in general. Feel like you're herded in like cattle, and then herded out like cattle. Get back on that shuttle, come back to the convention center, find your car, and then go home. It's just an enormous amount of time. You've got 5, 6 hours invested into a weigh-in that should have really taken about an hour and a half. I get the tackle throwouts. I get the number of times this sponsor needs to be named to meet your contract obligations. But I think we lost some of that in the 3 to 4 hour weigh-in. And again, the live coverage is so good. They have photographers and videographers everywhere. The war room, the press conferences afterwards. There's just so much information that you can get that you don't have to be there. And maybe that's kind of where we are in this. I don't know. I don't run events for Bass. Those are just some things that I saw from an event holder that made me not want to go. And let's be honest. I do 15 weigh-ins a year. I do 15, it's 14 tournaments. We have a 2-day championship, so it's 15 days. So no, I didn't attend Blast Off. I've been there. I've done it. I did it at Gunnersville. I've done it at Grand Lake. I've seen it. And it is something to see if you've never gone to it. Weigh in, something to see if you've never gone to it. I do it 15 times a year. It's just not something that I want to get up early for and rush back to get at an expo and be my best self for the people that are coming to talk to us. So I didn't attend those. I saw lots of pictures. Looked like they did a heck of a job at Blast Off. Again, enjoyed the live coverage. Got to see it sitting in my booth or going over to the Phoenix booth and them having it on the big screen. There's just so much access to it. The cost of parking and everything, I think, may have dwindled down a few people because it was at a premium. But I want to say this, Fort Worth, Texas, you have a fan in me. I encountered so many Uber drivers, hotel workers, hospitality workers, restaurant workers. We had one of the best servers at H3 Ranch that I've ever seen. She was amazing. From bartenders at the hotel to bartenders out in the different honky tonks, I guess is what you would call them. They were fantastic. I didn't have any rude service the entire time I was there. I had some Uber drivers that I had a lack of communication with just because of the nationality or whatever, but they weren't rude to us. Best service, 10 out of 10. Again, lots of entertainment options. I thought by far Fort Worth did a heck of a job. I didn't work with the city at all on it, but I thought they did a heck of a job. And I thought everyone was ready for us when we came. They were ready for company to come, and they took care of us when we were there. The airport was easy to get in and out of. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say. Now, the wind on my flight going in, now that was brutal. The Uber driver to the hotel, it was tough because there was so much traffic. I was already nauseated from the flight. I stayed in my room Wednesday night, ordered in Taco Bell, couldn't do it, could not walk outside. I was so nauseated. So, but everything that you could ask for from a host city, I felt like Fort Worth delivered on. So, and I'm going to talk about this before Luke gets on. I'm sure he and I will talk about this too when he comes on to talk about Logan Martin. I want to talk a little bit now about the fishing tournament itself and Easton Fothergill. And I'm going to refer to my notes because I got a lot I want to say about this. Easton Fothergill, former Montevallo Falcon, Montevallo Fishing Falcon. If you've watched this podcast at all ever, you know that I am a huge University of Montevallo fan, and I'm going to tell you why. When Easton Fothergill went to the hospital, same hospital my son went to, and they sent him to UAB after doing a CT test, noticing he had a mass on his brain. They sent him to UAB hospital. His fishing coach went with him, and Miss Deanna Smith and her husband went with him. Deanna Smith and her husband, and the reason I point out Deanna Smith is she was my son's financial advisor and financial counselor and teacher at Montevallo. And those three people were there with Easton while his parents were 12 to 14 hours away. I can't imagine getting that call, hearing that your son has a mass on his brain and being 14 hours away, not knowing how long you would be there, not knowing if you would bring your son home to recuperate or to bring him home to send him home to Jesus. That's what these people were facing. They had no idea what the outcome of this would be, if he would even be able to walk or talk, or if he'd even be with them. And they had that 12 to 14 hour drive. I know Deanna Smith, and I know how she took care of my Jake. And I wish I could have talked to them to let them know he was in good hands. They were driving 12 to 14 hours. 1 month later, he competes in the 2024 Bass College Bracket Series. He beats a guy you may have heard of, Hayden Marbutt, in the first round. And then another guy you might know who's, been pretty successful, Tucker Smith, to qualify for the 2024 Bassmaster Classic. And then comes up, backs it up, makes the 2025 Bassmaster Classic, and wins it at 22 years old. Coming from a mother whose son sustained a potentially career-ending injury his senior year, nothing compared to an abscess on his brain. But having to undergo surgery, and I was only an hour from him, and being able to be with him, and having to serve as his mental health coach, as his cheerleader, as his mental health coach, his financial support, his everything support. This family's been through a lot. Easton himself has been through a lot. His fishing buddies, his teammates have been through a lot. And at 22, this kid has done something that only 54 people have had the opportunity. Kevin Van Dam's won several. Number of people have won multiple Bassmaster Classics, but there's only been 54 of them. And after suffering a brain abscess, going through life-threatening surgery, taking 20 weeks of antibiotics afterwards, to fish a month later and qualify for his first Bassmaster Classic, to back it up and fish his second Bassmaster Classic and win. And immediately, the ink is literally not dry on the paper. People have barely hit enter on their post, and the haters start. Well, he couldn't have won without forward-facing sonar. Oh, the old cheater box won again. Blah, 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 blah. What a sad life you lead. What a sad life you lead if this is how you respond to this young man's success. I want to ask you these questions. Do you think professional football players would go out on the field today in those leather skull caps that they used to play in years ago? Or those flimsy shoulder pads that they had back in the 30s and 40s? Do you think Tua would even be alive today if he would be wearing the gear from 40 or 50 years ago? Do you think that Major League Baseball players use the same bats that Babe Ruth used, or those same flimsy mitts that they used? Or what about, did they even have turf cleats back then? No, because they didn't have turf. Now you have turf cleats and you have spikes. Do you think NASCAR runs the same cars they ran in the 80s? The same fuel, the same cars? Do they run the same as they did in the 80s, or have they advanced with technology? Have the tires changed at all? I bet they have. Does college football players get one pair of shoes to wear all season long? Or do they have some that have taller spikes than others because the turf is different? Or they're playing on real grass as opposed to turf? Do they wear the same shoes? Do they have the same equipment that they had? I can remember not seeing the tents on the sidelines for when a player gets hurt. They put him in an ambulance, they took him to the hospital. You didn't have juicing huts or whatever you call them for them to take care of those people and give them IVs on the sideline when they cramp up. Everything has changed. I'll even bring this down to the outdoor industry. Hunting. Do you have a scope on your rifle? Do you have a scope on your bow? Are your arrows the same as you used 15 years ago? How about cameras? Do you have cameras hanging out that you can check on your phone? Could you do that 25, 30 years ago? No, I didn't think so. Is your camo patterns the same? Or have they advanced? I would say Stacy Walker with Prime One would say they've advanced because she made one of the most popular camo patterns out there. I would say they probably have advanced. Why can all the other sports advance and not get hate from it, but the fishing industry can't? Be just beyond anything I can understand that the first comments out of some people's mouth would be about the tactics he used to win everything legal. He didn't break any rules. He used what was available to him, and guess what? Was available to everyone else in the field. And grown men and women are going to sit here and hate on him, or hate on the industry, or hate on the sport. How would you feel if it was your son? How would you feel if it was your nephew? Odds are some of you probably wouldn't care. You would still be the same hateful person you are toward him. I really liked one of the comments Luke posted. I don't even remember whose post it was on, but he said, yeah, and people don't ride horses to work anymore either. That's how archaic I think some of the thinking is about fishing. I'll say this: Easton Fothergill is an incredible young man, and he fought like hell to get back to the sport that he loves, a sport that he was taught at an early age before forward facing sonar. And he's accomplished something that 99.9% of the fishing public will never even experience, to make it to the classic and then to win. He is an exceptional young man. I think he is a great figure for young men and women to look up to. I'm extremely proud of him. Congratulations, Easton. You are the 2025 Bassmaster Classic champion. Go Falcons. That does it for my little rant for today. Mr. Luke Duncan's going to be on with me in the next segment. We're going to talk about the Bassmaster Classic. We'll talk a little bit about Birdie's Music Hall there in Fort Worth, where the Fat Rascals had a pretty cool concert. We're going to talk about who we picked for Logan Martin, what we can expect as we move into that tournament. And we'll be back with you here in just a moment on the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast presented by Phoenix Boats. Y'all stay tuned.
Jack's here, and in the South, we know how hard it is waiting for bowl season to come round again. So we're kicking up our own bowl season. For a limited time, you can get our new loaded fried chicken bowl. It's a hearty heap of hand-breaded chicken fingers, crispy bacon, buttered corn, and mashed potatoes with white peppered gravy. Might not fill the football-shaped hole in your heart, but it'll sure fill your stomach. Get the loaded fried chicken bowl for a limited time. We're Jax, and we're all about the South.
Welcome back to the second segment of the Alabama Bass Trail Podcast. Mr. Luke Duncan, lead singer of the Fat Rascals. No longer I'm not going to say the official voice of the Alabama Bass Trail. He is the lead singer on the Fat Rascals, dude. What a fun night at Birdie's Music Hall in Fort Worth.
Listen, that'll go down. That'll go down in the books, the Traveling Circus Low Budget Live books. Birdie's was a cool place. The crowd was great, and I'll just say it. Fat Rascal sounded great. Other than their lead singer, the Fat Rascals got it going on, and I think we all need to quit our jobs and just take this show on the dadgum road. I think that's whoa. Let's do it. We're taking over. Move out of the way, Luke Bryan, Leonard Skinner. Who's that girl, Chaperone, the HOTTOGO girl? Get out of the way. We're coming. The Fat Rascals are here to stay.
I'm only saying no because three of y'all work for me. And you, Shannon, and John, I'm not about that deal. Don't quit your side jobs. Just quit your main job, not your side jobs. Yeah. Don't quit your ABT jobs.
Exactly.
I'm going to talk about. We
were actually joking yesterday.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but we were joking yesterday in our group text about it was fun. I was thanking the guys for playing, and Ryan Engelman, of course, plays for Turnpike Troubadours, and such a good dude, good friend. And I said, if we can just get him to quit that little unsuccessful band he's in and join us, we got this thing lit.
It's almost like he's having a great time, but he's like surprised by how stupid we all get. Like it's you can see it on his face.
He's not. He's not. No, he's not. He's played live music for years, Miss K. He knows what music does to people. He's not surprised.
So since you brought that up, I've got to ask you because the vibes were good and everything's going good, and then boom, Biloxi Blues comes on. And everybody loses it. Everybody's up. There's not anyone sitting down. Everybody's enjoying it. It's a song you wrote. It's a song that you have so much connection with that it leads your podcast for years and years and years. It's been on your podcast. What does that mean to you when everybody relates to that song?
You're actually giving me chills right now. Saying that, that should speak volumes, I guess. But man, listen, I did the songwriting thing for a very long time. I've got a ton of songs that I've written. I've chased the music thing for many years. I've played to some really cool venues. I've played to some really cool crowds. I've played to a lot of empty ones too, where nobody gave a dang. And it's so cool for me to see the effect that song, especially a song that means so much to me. It was one that I wrote with my dad in mind. I tell that story every time before I play it. It's a way that I, get to honor my dad and kind of the story, is very loosely based around him, but he spent most of my life in Mississippi working. And that was kind of what the idea for it when I sat down to write that song many years ago. And it just kind of fell out. That song took me about 5 minutes to write. That's what's so crazy about it. But just to see, people holding up their three good tires and a spare, they're holding up their three fingers. And I got choked up. I'm not going to lie. It was and every year I'm just surprised that people care that much to show up to everything I got going on. But this year was a little, especially losing Dad, it was a little extra. I was actually telling Marissa about it last night. That was the moment for me, where it's like, it didn't matter if it was 500, 200, 15 people or 50,000 at that point. It was just so cool emotionally in that moment. It was a special one. So no, and I saw him look on Halo, which is an old song of mine. We played 64, and not the same reaction as Biloxi ever, but it's still to see people singing the words to something that you wrote many years ago. It's never gets old. I'll just put it that way. Never gets old.
Well, I looked around the room, and when you see Gerald and Leanne, of course, good friends of yours, good friends of mine, you got Josh and Laura Ann and Noah and Rachel and Daniel, myself. I mean, we're all like family. You got Laura there, with
Yes,
John. And it just to me was very I don't know, just very family. I mean, because you and I
it
feel like we're
was
like brothers and sisters, and I
definitely.
feel like we share a lot between each other with our families and everything that's going on with us. We see each other all the time. We're with each other a lot of time more than we're with our family. And you've seen me go through some really dark times and hard times as I have with you, and I was just so struck by
Yep.
that response. And I was just sitting here. I was just sitting there going, "Good for him. Good for Luke.
That's
Good for
awesome.
Luke." It was good. It
Well,
was good. It was good.
well, Noah Dickinson, shout out Noah for just being the best photographer ever. He's so dang talented. It's amazing. But he snuck his camera in there and he took some amazing shots. And he sent me a gallery yesterday from the night, which is just awesome to get to relive it through these beautiful pictures. But I sent the link to Marissa because she had seen Noah's post and she said, "Hey, I want some of these pictures. This is great," because she didn't get to be there, unfortunately. And dude, that one she texted me yesterday. She screenshot and it was everybody holding up their three fingers, and she said, "Is this what I think it is?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "How freaking cool!" So that moment was definitely one. And like you said, y'all got my back. Daniel Montgomery and I were texting about that yesterday. He's like, "Hey man, thanks again for doing that. It was a heck of a night, so much fun." And I was like, "Man, don't thank me. Like, thank you guys for being in my corner." And look, when I look around there and you see DQ from Rapala, and you see so many industry people that they could do anything with their Saturday night at the Bassmaster Classic, and they choose to spend it with us. And the low lifers, and you look around, and the guys that don't make the cut in the Classic that get eliminated all come filing in. There was half the Elite Series, is in there, and that happens every year. It's just become this thing, and I'm so blessed, and I always leave the Classic with a ton of gratitude just for everything I get to do in life, working with you guys, working with MPFL podcast, but just I don't know, it was another special Classic weekend, no doubt about that.
Well, let's talk about that because I mean, a lot of us came for the Fat Rascals concert. That's what we
Of
came to
course,
Fort Worth for.
really the main thing, yeah, it's the main thing.
But there was a little thing going on called the Bassmaster Classic, and I have
Yeah,
seen
it was in the
post after
way, but
post
yeah,
after post after post. Yeah, it was in the way. It kind of messed up your practice time for the Fat Rascals. But
yes,
post after post, I guess when you follow fishing, it's bound to be in your social media post. I personally thought that expo was great. I mean, I've been to, I said 18 of these.
yeah.
I thought the expo was great. I thought it was well thought out. I thought it was well attended. When I showed up on Saturday and Sunday, and there's people lined up both sides of the highway to get in and all that, I thought the expo was really good. What was your thoughts?
So I talked about this on a podcast yesterday. I recorded. I've seen these, and I don't want to say this is going to sound horrible, but it's people I don't know, right, in the fishing industry. And I feel like I know a lot of damn people. I'll just say
Hmm.
that, or know of them, right?
Hmm.
And I was like scrolling TikTok yesterday, and there's these people I've never seen before. They're like, Bassmaster Classic, biggest bust of all time. And I'm like, who? First of all, buddy, A, who are you? B, I've been to 20 of these, and I didn't think it was a bust at all. I thought crowd wise, like I do think 21 in Fort Worth was crazier. I will say that, but we were coming off of a COVID year, first time it was going to Texas. Just looking back at pictures from like my podcast that I did at the expo from 21, and it was a lot crazier. I mean, I signed autographs and took pictures for over an hour after I got finished with my podcast in 21 there. Like I remember it, specifically remember it just kind of being nuts. Saturday was very, very busy. Saturday and Sunday, but I didn't think it was the busiest one I'd ever been to by
No.
any stretch. But I thought the expo was awesome. I thought it was crowded. I thought the layout, other than having to go up 3 flights of stairs to go upstairs, I thought the layout was good. Everybody was kind of centrally located, and I've seen stuff about the weigh-in not being crowded, and I've seen the pictures. But here's what people got to understand: it's bass fishing, okay, which we all know and love. That's a big old arena. It takes a lot of people to make that look full.
Hmm.
And yeah, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people at the Bassmaster Classic, but I think the only knock I have, and it's not me personally because I don't go to the weigh-ins. I just
Yeah.
I'm busy doing other stuff. Unfortunately, I don't even get to be really involved if the tournament's even going on most of the time until I lay down and try to get some rest at night. I cruise the standings, look at social media clips, see who's doing what, check in. But the weigh-in is ridiculously long. And I think that's what people in their criticisms they're forgetting is this thing goes on 3 to 4 hours, whatever it is. And damn, man, you come to Fort Worth, Texas, you want to go get your dancing shoes on and go to the stockyards. If you're there for vacation, you want to go to one of those great steakhouses. You don't want to sit there and listen to Dave. That's not a shot at Dave, but you've been there for a few hours watching people drive in, hold up fish. You're ready to go.
Hmm.
And I think that's where the lack of crowd, especially on Saturday, dude, they're still weighing fish at 7 o'clock at night. I mean, the Fat Rascals were taking the stage at 9.
Right.
People had to get primed up.
Yes, right.
Okay. So
That's right.
I think there's a little bit of misconception in that. And it also comes to camera angles too. I think there were more people at the weigh-ins than we're given credit for.
Well, and I said this too earlier in the podcast. We are so social media driven, and Bass is so quick to have the photos, have the video, have the press conference, have everything is right there, and it's almost instantaneous.
Yeah,
So
great
why
at it.
make the 30-minute commute over there, ride a bus that with rods and
Yeah,
reels and tackle and t-shirts and all that I bought all day, ride over there with it, and then have to come back with it? I just think
yeah,
and if you're in an area where these little things right here won't pick up and you can't send a message,
that's right.
oh no, they're not going. They're not going to go sit there for 4 hours disconnected. I don't care who
That's
you
right.
are, what age you
Yeah,
are. They're not going to
that's
go.
it.
So I think that's something Bass is going to have to think about. I get the tackle tosses and the sponsor names being mentioned and
Yeah, yeah.
the eyeballs and all that. But I think a 4 hour weigh in for 55 people is entirely too long,
Well, it always
and,
has been. That's
and they
why I
got to
don't
fix
go.
it.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it always has been, and I mean, they've been doing it the same way forever, and that's fine. That's part of the allure of making the classic. Like Justin Atkins' joke when he made it was, "Finally, I get to ride around the arena with rap music blaring."
Hmm.
He's wanted to do
Hmm.
that since he was a kid, and like that's all fisherman's dream is to get to roll into that arena. But we live in a fast-paced world now. It's very our attention spans, dang sure mine, are shorter than ever, and so asking people to sit down and watch a weigh-in for that long it's a big ask, especially in a cool place like dude.
Oh
Listen,
gosh.
you're in a smaller town, even Knoxville. Knoxville, there's not as much to do in Knoxville, and I love old Rocky Top, obviously, but Fort Worth's got a lot going on, man. It'd be like having it in Nashville. You ain't wanting to be tied down in an arena while Fort Worth's happening right outside.
I said this in the earlier part of the podcast. Never been to Fort Worth. This was my first time because we had an ABT 100 the first year that it was there, and I didn't get to go. I was highly impressed with Fort Worth. Now,
Fort
it's
Worth's fun.
pricey. It's pricey. The
Yeah,
hotels are
it
pricey.
is.
The Ubers are pricey. Food's not cheap. Service had some of the best servers at
Yeah,
restaurants, had the best service at my hotel. Just amazing Uber drivers. Everybody was so nice. Everywhere I went was super
yeah.
nice. All of the little boutiques, the drunk armadillo or whatever, the drunk possum, whatever that was we were at that night. Billy Bob, everybody was so nice. And I think you have to go and
Yeah,
see Billy Bob's. But you're talking about
you
spring
have to.
break,
Yeah.
the rodeo was going on, the Bassmaster Classic's going
Yep.
on, and just the stockyards itself. I was blown away by the hospitality. I thought Fort Worth did a hell of a job in hosting us. Maybe not the most people at the weigh in, but I'll be interested to see what the other vendors thought. But we gave our stuff away by like Saturday evening. We were almost done. Like people had, but Texas also, in general tourism perspective, Texas is the biggest traveler to Alabama for tourism. More people travel from outside our
Oh,
states.
really?
Texas.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Texas and
Yeah,
Louisiana.
I'm a very cool. I never
Yeah.
realized that. I'm a Texas fan. Anytime I get to go there, I worked for years with the wonderful folks. No, I said I worked with the Sealy folks, the Sealy family at McDonald's Big Bass Splashes for years. I'd go do their events for TH Marine. I fell in love with Texas back then, and so I love a good excuse to go to Texas. It's one of my favorite states, and Fort Worth is. I don't know. I think it's really cool that a city that big hosts the biggest tournament bass fishing. I think there's something to be said for that. Like you got to applaud Bass for taking that chance and trying to get it there. And sometimes it falls on deaf ears in a city that big because I bet in a place like Greenville or Knoxville, a smaller market town, you're probably pulling some people in just out of curiosity that aren't hardcore fishing fans as well.
Right.
Places like Fort Worth, that's a tough ask.
hmm We had a guy from Montgomery, Alabama come by the booth and talk to me, stayed and talked to me for about 45 minutes. I've never seen him at one of our events. He said he's never been to one of our events. I saw him in Fort Worth, Texas. So, and then I see people that I
That's
met
cool.
in Greenville in 2008 that came back and has seen me every year. And I was
That's
telling
awesome.
Daniel and John and Angela in the booth about when we met and his son and he were eating at the restaurant in Greenville at the host hotel, and we were all sitting there talking. And I just walked over and asked them about their trip and who they followed and who their favorite angler was. And they come and see me every year. And now he shoots video. His son shoots video for Bass now.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that
That's cool.
cool? It's just how cool
Very
the
cool.
industry is. Well, I know we've been out in Texas. Our mind's been out in Texas, but now we're back. You're in Tennessee. I'm in Alabama. But we've got a little event coming up this weekend on a pond, a little bit about Logan Martin
Yep.
Lake. It's not going to be 14 degrees, thank God.
Amen.
But stop number 2 in the South Division. Gonna be a fun time. We got some weather gonna roll in late that evening. Hopefully, we get this thing out of the way pre-front fishing instead of post-front fishing at Lake Gunnersville. So
Oh, well, that I don't know if you know this or not, Kay. That post front fishing turned out okay.
you mean to tell me they bite post-front? Surely not.
Well, you know what? That's one of those fishing just wives' tales that I've lived by. I'm like, I ain't going today. And when you cover the ABT, you find out that those boys catch them in in any condition, but they dang sure did at Gunnersville. So a little pre-front action, I'll take that. No telling what'll happen.
Yeah, let's hope that rain stays away till we can get off the water on Saturday. Warming conditions all week long, going to be in the mid to high 70s, even 80s maybe down there. Um, so looks like we're going to have some stable weather going into this event. Now that I've said that, it'll be thunderstorms Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and
19
all
degrees, yeah.
19 degrees exactly. Let's just go ahead and piss everybody off. It will be a live scope event.
Gosh, you had to do that. Let's just- the
I
the
can't believe you were
three
almost like
I
speechless.
was speechless. I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Everybody, all the comments, them scopers, flat bill wearers. Oh, like, dude, people are triggered. Lord have mercy. You'd think people were slapping their wives, like other than like the live scopers was beating the heck out of these people's wives or something. It's
I
so
know.
crazy. I've never seen people, grown men, so triggered by something, especially the youth movement in bass fishing. But um, this will not be a scoping event, Miss K. It's not going to be a scoping event. It's going to be an amazing river fishing event on the Coosa River. Actually, I'm not sure about water levels. I've done no research yet, but I've done zero. But scoping may play, but man, Coosa's not one of those places. I mean, I know the ABT 100 with Jed and Loberg there, they were scoping, but that's a different deal. You got this warming trend. I'd say, and those fish on Logan Martin they're very water level oriented when it comes to spawning, but they're going to be around where they're going to be. We've had a lot of warm weather in Alabama in the last couple of weeks. We had a full moon. Going to be some fish on the bank this week for sure.
I agree. I think that's where we'll see Chapel and Davis for sure. I think we'll see
No,
them
no.
start there. I don't know what
Yeah.
their boat number is, but I got to believe that they're going to be headed there. Hopefully, we can chase them down with our drone. Um, you know, I've said this before, and we brought it up to our teams. I think in one of our videos, we're seeing more fish fizzed January, February we've never seen before. So that is a
Yeah.
product of live scope. People need to get prepared and need to get familiar with that process. But I think you're right. Warming trend. I think the fish are kind of getting ready to do their business. I mean, we've had some turbulent weather down in that part of the state. A lot of lightning, a lot of thunderstorms, good bit of rain. I still think Alabama Power is going to keep the water down just because of what we've got coming in
Oh,
on
for sure.
Sunday. So I don't think you're gonna, I don't think we're gonna have full pool by no means. But fish are going to the bank. It is getting that time. Any idea what you think the weight will be? We've had some really good weights at Logan
Man,
Martin over the past few
yeah, I've
weeks.
seen some good ones. I mean, I'm going to say that 20, 21 pound mark down there. I'd say we'll definitely have you in the mix. Take on 15 grand for sure. But I mean, heck, Zeke Gossett the other day had one like 870 something or 880 something, just an absolute giant. But I think it'll definitely take, around that 20 pound mark plus for sure.
My guess was 20 and a half. So we're pretty close on that. We're pretty close on that. I would love to see an 8 pounder come in.
Oh my
I've never
gosh.
seen an 8 pounder on Logan Martin. I know they live there. I've been told about them for years and years. I've just never seen one. We saw several sevens weighed in last year. So we'll see if we can find one of those 8 pounders this week. All right. You talked about Zeke and Ethan. Are they going to be on your team of five?
Yeah, they're definitely going to be in the starting rotation this week for me. Of course, Chap and Davis got to pick those boys. Mark and Tim, Mark McKeag, Tim Hurst, definitely going to pick them. And I'm shooting from the hip here because obviously I am in the
En
traveling
route.
circus
Yeah.
mobile here today. Trying to think about my other two, Miss K, live on the spot because I'm very unprepared. Can I do Zeke and Ethan in the other two spots too?
If that's what you want to
Because
do, you have a
I
lot
mean,
of
no offense
confidence
to
in that
anybody else.
team with,
No,
yeah.
I do there just because goodness gracious, we've got so many teams in the ABT that can win. I mean, it's like what we saw. We had first time champs at Gunnersville. You never know what's going to happen in 225. It's so hard to pick these things, but no, I think that those boys will be tough this week. I really believe it. I think the goodness, I'm blanking right now. I mean, I'm gonna say now I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but my dark horse, I'm gonna go them little Miller boys and my dark horse. I'm still thinking we're fixing to make the Miller boys. We're fixing to make some noise at some point this year. I'm gonna see. We're gonna see them. Gonna see them with a trophy. We're gonna see them with a trophy this year. I just believe it. I
I
believe
don't,
it. So,
I don't
so
hate
them and
that
my dark
pick.
horse. uh,
I
Yeah,
don't hate that pick.
I'm gonna well, and I'm probably gonna make a lot of people mad with this pick. I'm gonna throw Chris and Kobe in my top five because, and I'm gonna say this, just bring the comments. I personally will answer them. Uh, Chris and Kobe win at Martin. There's all the BS after, and talking to them. You and I were doing the interview with those guys after, and they said we're so sick of getting our butt kicked last year. Of course, it's hilarious that finishing like 20th at AOI is getting your butt kicked to Chris and Kobe, but they're they have taken the lead, most wins. They are full of you know what vinegar this year. They
Hmm.
said they're practicing. They're trying to tighten up and get back, and they started with the win. And I think you better watch them the rest of this season in the South because they are very motivated, beyond motivated. So want to add them in my top five, but I'll keep Zeke and Ethan in there twice.
Well, I'm going to give you my top five, and then I got something I've got to tell you because it's been weighing on my heart pretty heavy. So I have to tell you this, but I'm not going to do it till after I tell you my
Oh
top
boy,
five.
oh boy.
I know I'm kind of scared. I'm kind of scared. Maybe I shouldn't tell you until after Saturday, but my top five. I've got Zeke and Ethan as well. I think they are a great team to bet on at Logan Martin. They put in their time. Just they've got a ton of time on that lake period. I've got Josh Chappell, Paul Davis as well. Daniel Carlisle and Jared Hubbard, they won a couple tournaments last year on that body of water. I think that's why they jumped in
Yep.
the Alabama Bass Trail. I've got them on my list. Tyler Malone, Cade Law did good at Lake
Can't pick
Martin. Had a
against them.
great tournament. Had a
Yeah.
great season last year. Both of them fished in the opens this year. Lucas Lindsay, Brendan Holt.
Yep.
And I'm going to say there's nobody except Josh and Paul on my list that's probably over the age of 25, 27, something like
Yeah,
that. So,
young
yeah,
guns.
go ahead and beat me up over that. The young guns here in the Alabama Bass Trail. My dark horse is Russ Sapp and Logan Sims. I think they've got
Okay.
quite a bit of time on that body of water. I like the Miller boys. This was their toughest finish last year, was at
It
Logan Martin.
was.
I
It
think
was
redemption
for
is
sure.
kind of what they're thinking this year is redemption. Uh, their dad and mom was going to come out to the Bassmaster Classic, but they were like, the boys want to be on Logan Martin all weekend. They're really the people who watch the girls when we're gone. So we're not going to come out to the Bassmaster Classic. We're going to allow them to do their practice. That's what it's about when you got family that's in the fishing business. But
No doubt.
Mr. Miller may or may not have had an extra ticket to the Tennessee game, SEC tournament game last Sunday. And he said,
That's no big deal. Okay, that's just a dream of mine. That's okay.
if
That's
if
okay.
you're not,
I can't. We
if you
started this
don't,
by you saying how much you love me and proud of me and all this stuff, and we're family, and now you're telling me that I could have gone to the championship game. Cool, no big deal. Okay,
if we wouldn't have had an ABT event, he
podcast
said,
is over. Okay, this podcast is over. I hope Alabama gets put out, and then somehow they let them back in the tournament, and then they get put out again. That's what I hope.
I I really need
And
you
we
at
got
Gunners.
beat. I would have been upset. We got beat. It would have been a good day / bad day. But still, dang it.
I know. I didn't want to do it. He said, if you don't think that you're going to be able to go on Sunday, if you don't think if this tournament's going to happen on Sunday, I was going to reach out to Luke and see if he wanted to go. And I was like, no, we're going on Sunday.
Oh, no, we're going to work. Luke's going to watch it from a porta potty at Gunnersville State Park from his iPhone. Okay,
I know. And I'm sorry.
right. No, it's okay. Okay, I'm sure there'll be another chance like that. It's all right. No big deal.
I'm so sorry.
It's
But-
okay. Let's blame Mother Nature. I won't even blame you. I'll just blame Mother Nature.
Yes,
Ruining my
that
life.
sounds fantastic. That sounds fantastic. I'm pretty glad you're doing
Blame
that.
her.
Take the
Let's
high
blame
road.
her.
Take the high road. I really am sorry. And I didn't
It's okay.
I didn't want to tell you, and then I just couldn't find the words to tell you, and then I felt like I needed to tell you because I felt like you'd see him this weekend and he was going to tell you, and you'd be like, "What? She hadn't told me that. She never
She
told me
toell
that."
me that. All right. I will remember this.
I know. I'm sorry.
remember
I'm
this.
so sorry. All right, Logan Martin this weekend live coverage is going to start around 6:30. We'll blast off 225 teams. Somebody's going to take home $15,000. Will it be someone we chose? I mean, you've got 3 out of 5, Zeke and Ethan. So
No, 4 out of 5 because I had a Chris and Kobe.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
that's my get me some fired up comment pick.
Oh yeah. Well, y'all, that is Luke at lbl.lowbudgetlive.com,
Yeah, that's
whatever
right.
it is.
Low budget live, the number 1 at gmail.com. Send all your hate there. Or come comment on a podcast. That's cool. Or an
Yeah.
Instagram or Facebook post. I like
Yeah.
the interaction.
He loves the
helps.
interaction and he loves the fact that it boosts his reach and all of
It
that.
goes
So y'all
like,
come on, comment away.
You're just helping the cause.
That's it. Just
Oh,
commenting away.
That's what the kind of going back to the Bassmaster, all the crazy comments, negativity, and things. That's what people don't realize is when you comment, when you engage, you're like, you're going out of business. And then your comment gets like 100 comments back. All you're doing is boosting Bassmaster's numbers.
Yep.
That's all you're doing.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. So while you think you're tearing them down, you're actually helping them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just a fun fact.
Just
a free tip.
Just a free tip out there. Tips for free.
Yep.
Thank
that's
you
it.
for joining us. I wish you safe travels the rest of your way on your destination there in the
Thank
traveling
you.
circus. And we will see you Friday night, Saturday morning, whenever you make it into town at Logan Martin Lake.
Where's the what's the place that we like to go to in Boot Scoot there? What's that place called? The livery,
Oh,
something like that.
it was the distillery, but I think someone's bought it now. We'll have to check on that. I'll have to do some digging and see. The
Well, I'll see
karaoke was
you.
going on.
Yeah. Well, I'll see you there Friday night.
All right, guys, we'll be back with the third segment of the Alabama Bass Trail podcast here in just a minute. Y'all stay tuned.
Research and development is more than just time in the shop for us. It's time out here. Sweating the details. Making boats that work as well in the real world as they do on paper. From our R&D team to our anglers on the water, we have the knowledge and passion to build you the finest fishing platform in the world.
Welcome back, and that was a lively segment with Luke Dunkin, the lead singer of the Fat Rascals and the voice of the Alabama Bass Trail. Lot going on with him, like a lot going on with him. Luke did a fantastic job. John, Shannon, everyone else there with the Fat Rascals did an amazing job Saturday night. Great event. Loved it. It was great. But that just about does it. I want to go over a couple of things as we are moving into the second stop of the ABT South Division. A lot of fishing left to do on the Alabama Bass Trail, but I do want to remind you, because this was the number one question that we were asked at the Basmaster Classic, is when's the new schedule coming out? What's registration look like? All the things. Right now, schedule is set to be released on May the 2nd. That's 38 days from today. So 38 days, the schedule will come out May 2nd, registration August 1st through the 14th for current ABT teams, and then August the 15th at 5:30 a.m. is when registration will take part for open registration. All new teams can register then. So wanted to remind you about that. May the 2nd is when that schedule is set to release. Also, good for me, probably good for y'all too, actually. April 10th through the 16th, I will be on vacation. I will be out of the country on vacation, enjoying some downtime and a little bit of salt air and sand and a cocktail or two. So looking forward to vacation. So that's April 10th through the 16th. Don't know that there will be a pre-Neely Henry podcast unless I can get Luke and Darian maybe to fill in and record that for you guys. But I am looking forward to being on vacation that week. But that does it for this week's podcast. I want to remind you to go and hug your mom and them. I'm looking forward to seeing mine this weekend. Give those fur babies a little extra loving, maybe a little extra treat. Enjoy this. It's beautiful. I don't know if you can tell behind me, but the sun is shining, going to be 78 degrees today. And by the way, go ahead and take one of those Claritin, because I can tell you, with all the pollen that has come out and is on the Alabama Bass Trail truck right now, you're going to need a Claritin. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all on Saturday morning at 6:30 on live Logan Martin Lake, second stop of the Alabama Bass Trail South Division. God bless, and peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Alabama Bass Trail podcast. To learn more about the Alabama Bass Trail, make sure and visit alabamabasstrail.org.